All right. Hey, everyone. This is Chris Ronzio, and you're joining for another episode of the Organized Chaos Show. If you haven't tuned in before and you haven't seen this is something we started doing a couple months ago that was really a way for me to connect with business owners at all different stages of the business and talk to them about whatever's on their mind. I used to be a small business consultant, so I just love getting into the weeds on different businesses, different industries, and this show gives me a chance to do that. So if you don't know me, and this is the first time you're watching, I'm CEO of Triple, a company that helps you document the playbook for your business. But today we're joined by Vince Scarpinato. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So Vince, your company, Kitchen on the Street, can you give us a little bit of background as to what this company is?
Absolutely. So, I would say probably about 13 years ago, my wife and I, we were just looking for a way to serve the community, and we were in a situation where we were volunteering at various places and things like that, and we uh, we had some people over for dinner one night, and the gentleman was a principal of a charter school in the area here in Phoenix, and he just told us a story. My wife asked him how his school year was going, asking just basic questions, and he told us a story about a young girl who was here as a refugee, and he witnessed her going through the trash for food and putting it in her pockets. So
Wow.
obviously, when we heard the story, it kind of gave us a little bit of an entry into what we wanted to do. We wanted to
Yeah.
help some people in the community, so we started Kitchen on the Street. Right, actually that evening,
So
started.
13 years ago?
Yeah, 13 years ago. Started
And
doing
it's a
some research.
nonprofit, right? I guess I should
Yeah,
have clarified.
yeah.
Okay.
We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and at this point, again, that was 13 years ago. One school, maybe the school identified quite a few children in there that needed help, and now it's about 35 schools in the Metro Phoenix area with about 2,000 children each weekend getting what we call a bag of hope, which is a weekend supplemental nutrition program that we do, um,
Wow.
and that's where we're at today.
Wow. Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. That's amazing that you've dedicated so much time and effort into this. It seems like you're helping a ton of people. So, when you and I first had a chance to connect, we talked about the logistics of, how you actually pull this off, like how you can serve this many schools, this many children, and also like a corporate of what you're doing on how you generate revenue and how you make this a viable, because I think what some people probably misunderstand is that a nonprofit still has to run like a business. If a
Exactly.
nonprofit doesn't make any profit, it can't function as a business. And so it's a nonprofit does not necessarily mean that the company is just everyone's a volunteer that's not being paid. It means that there is a business that is doing something generous for the community, right?
Absolutely. It's actually a bad name. Nonprofit's really not a great name for the type of organization, because you can definitely, you should be thinking about creating profit at all times if you're trying to fulfill a mission.
Yeah.
You just can't pass it out, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
the big difference. You can't pass it out to stakeholders and shareholders and board members, but you can certainly create profit, and it's important to understand that at all times.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
So let's dig into it, because I want to make sure that we talk about, I'm a process guy. So the structure of this business, you said you've got 35 schools, about 2,000 children a week that you're impacting. So how do you get a school? What is the relationship like with a school? And just like, how do people sign up?
so we've actually created a lot of processes that a lot of other organizations that do the same work don't do or haven't done. And now, we're kind of we're one of the smaller organizations out there, but we have a lot of different processes that are being utilized now. One of the things we do is we have an application that goes online, because our frontline um, partner is usually a social worker, a school nurse, a teacher, or administrator. So they're going to identify children within their school. And once we know that there's a need there, then we have an application process, and then we begin the collaboration at that point. But the thing that we require, and it's kind of unique, is we are big data and metrics collectors. We
Yeah.
believe that we have to measure this situation if we're going to try and solve it. So There's a lot of organizations that in the non, I'm not saying any particular, but in the nonprofit industry, they kind of just see the need and believe they can fulfill it. And if you don't collect the data and the metrics, then you really don't have any, you can't tell if you're being efficient. You can't tell if you're being effective if you're not
Yeah.
measuring. So that's one of the things that we require that walking into a partnership with a school is that we have to be able to collect information based on behavior, on attendance, and on grades,
Yeah.
especially math and reading
So
score.
so I want to stop you because this is a great point. When people are founding a nonprofit or joining a nonprofit, they have a tendency to want to not invest in the systems and processes of the business because you want every dollar to go toward whatever the giving you're doing is. But if you can't run it as a viable organization, you can't make a lasting impact, right? Like you have to be
Absolutely.
a stable organization. And so it sounds like you've invested in that. Let's keep going through the process though. You've got, it sounds like a champion or a sponsor or someone at the school that identifies there's a need, and then
Mhm.
they apply online to suggest the student, it sounds like. and then
Exactly.
you and then accept the a student, I guess, if they meet certain criteria. And then it sounds like you were getting to some metrics that you track for that student to make sure you're having an impact.
So what we do is obviously we don't get individual names and things like that. So that's based
Okay.
upon the school itself. So what they do is they identify a population within the school that have a need. So let's say for instance you take a school, they identify 70 or 80 or 100 or however many children are there that they believe by going through their information, whether most of them are Title One schools, so it's free and reduced breakfast and lunch.
Yeah.
Most of the schools are in areas where there's a little bit of a an economic scenario taking place where people don't have the ability maybe to provide breakfast and lunch for their children. So
Mm.
once we identify a school that's in one of those neighborhoods, and then at that point in time, they're going to give us baseline metrics. So they're going to give us, okay, here's what our behavior issues look like right now, X amount of incidents per month or year, however they want to break that down. Then attendance, here's what our attendance attendance percentages are. And then they'll take that student body and give us a baseline on math and reading proficiency, because those are the two of the things that we like to measure, because through our program, um, we've seen a boost in both math and reading when children start to receive um, these weekend resources.
Yeah.
So that's what we
how
measure,
how
in
has
many cases.
how has the data impacted your offering over the years? In 13 years, is the supplement that you send home on the weekends basically the same, or do you modify that product based on some of the trends you're seeing?
Yeah, so obviously there are some, issues that we have with, you know, children that are allergic to certain things. We've partnered up with
Mm,
the Arizona Association of Dietitians and Nutritionists, and what we do is we constantly go back and take our offering and we reevaluate it. So I would say we're probably one of the only organizations that has very specific guidelines on what we put in the bag, based around what is a good a nutrition program for a weekend supplement. So when it comes down to nuts and seeds and fruits and and different, and everything's shelf stable, obviously. So there's nothing in there that can be perishable, but
yeah.
we made sure that everything that we put into that bag, if it can be organic, we use organic product. We try not to put anything that has GMOs or any kind of dye or anything like that. So most of the
Yeah.
stuff that we're using, so we don't we buy our food. We don't really go out there and get the opportunity to go out and say, okay, let's have a food drive. Give us whatever you got, and we'll give it to the kids. Because a lot of times there's a lot of organizations that are throwing cans of tuna, ramen noodles, potato chips, and we don't put anything like that in there because number one, it's not healthy. Number two, it's hard for a young fourth grader to throw boiling water on the stove and make ramen noodles. So
Yeah.
there's some parameters around that, but we've tightened that up to the point,
Okay.
um, as much as possible.
So let me ask the $1 million question then.
Hmm.
If you're not accepting donations of food and you're buying food based on the prescribed dietary recommendations, you've got to have money to be able to buy the food. So what's the other half of this equation? Like where does the revenue for the business come from?
Well, and that is the $1 million question, because that's one of the things that we try and focus on at all times. And that is, how do we continue to generate revenue sources that are out of the box, kind of blue ocean strategy ideas that are going to give us an opportunity to, capitalize, on some of those. So um, we bring along board members that but we're not a check writing board. We're a board that we want innovation, we want ideas, we want to
Hmm.
help the people that are actually entrepreneurial per se, people that are in sales because they have like that mentality of like, how can I now create some type of revenue source? So that's what we talk about on a regular basis. That's what our roundtable discussions are about, and constantly going in there and testing these ideas at all, however they come about, we have to go out and I'll test them and see that. We just did a campaign not too long ago called Sauce for a Cause, where we created we white labeled some different hot sauces, put them together in a 3 pack, and when someone purchases I have an example right here. As a matter of fact, when someone purchase, when someone this is called Sauce for a Cause. It's branded perfectly. It's a couple different sauces, and when you buy those sauces, we ship them out, and they generate revenue for us. So those are the kind of things that we try and do. We have a couple right now that we're doing.
So
Obviously,
hold
I
on,
talked. Yeah.
I gotta stop you because when you said you bring the board members together, you try to get creative. I'm thinking you get creative like asking for donations, but no, you actually
Oh,
produce a white
business
label
ideas.
product and you're
Yeah.
selling this with
Yeah.
a margin, and then using that to fund the nonprofit arm. So that's
Exactly.
kudos for that. So over the 13 years, how many of these things have you tried? Are they always kind of these one-off different ideas, or is there something stable that's been a mainstay product for you?
Well, I think the mainstay. Well, we had a food truck for a while. We did that for a few years. Um, we had a cafe called Street Cafe over in Scottsdale. We did that for 3 years to generate revenue. Um, now we're kind of working smarter, not harder, because that's pretty difficult,
Yeah.
you know do in that respect. But now we're doing things more along the lines of like this. We're also doing we're trying out some other things. There's another concept that we're doing. It's called Child Box, and it's kind of it's a subscription service, a snack subscription service, that when you buy a box for your child of healthy snacks, that another child can benefit by getting a weekend bag of food, which is right around $3 for us. So we
Hmm.
kind of offset in that, in those kind of things, and we haven't really had anything right yet that really put us up. I mean, the Sauce for a Cause, we generated quite a few dollars from that the last time we did it. um Swag and stuff like that. Sometimes that helps, it trickles in from different, so you have to have maybe 5 or 6 different revenue sources that, that are constantly, creating that trickle. But for us, it's been, we're trying to, create that solution, so that we can, the less people we serve, the better off we are. I mean, we're trying to put
Yeah.
ourselves out of business. Um, if we can, because the whole food issue, child food insecurity issue, needs to go away. So
Yeah.
um, we're focusing on more of a family meal within the child meal, but we give a lot of resources within that bag of food that we give, so that families understand how to, how to break that cycle of whether it's just food insecurity or poverty in its own right.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on right now. But we have another program that we're kicking off. Okay, you can ask a question, and I'll tell you about that after, because it's
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear about it. So I was going to ask, do you have a record or a data point of how many meals you've given over the last 13 years, or how many weekend bags you've sent out?
my wife might have that information. I
See, that's
I
that's the type of thing that like the news stations will report on when you
yeah,
hit big milestones to say you've given 1 million
yeah,
meals or you've done this.
yeah. We I'm sure that number's around somewhere. I would say probably she could probably give it to you off the top of her head, if she was
Because
here.
if it's
If
you
not,
said 2,000 a weekend, that's like 100,000 a year. You've been doing it for 13 years.
yeah,
You probably close to 1 million. So I mean, I would dig up that number because that's a way to get some real good PR.
yeah, yeah, I should have that on the top of my head actually right this minute. But one of the things, it's like, when you're doing this kind of work, sometimes, y- you know like I really don't like to focus on the problem as much as I want to focus on the cure for this, because I believe there is one. And right now we're working with the well, not right now because they're not playing, but the Arizona Diamondbacks and United Healthcare. We're in a collaboration with them, and that's the other thing that I'll tell you about. How this kind of a entity functions is there's got to be a lot of collaboration with other organizations. So we're doing a
Hmm.
food rescue program right now. So we have a truck that we just purchased that's going to be elaborately wrapped, and we're going to go into the really hard pressed neighborhoods with a produce program, fresh produce and fresh fruit program, for more of an educational process, giving people an opportunity to access more fresh produce, more fruits and vegetables. Um, and there's a couple other organizations that are trying to do the same thing. We're going to do it a little bit differently, because we're going to go out there and do a pop up, and we're going to do some demos, and we're going to do some things like that. But
Yeah,
it's just a matter of education. If we teach these people exactly what this process looks like, um, but we need more we need more inner city local markets, small pop-up markets that have that access, that they have access to that fresh fruit and produce, and I believe that will help
sure.
dramatically.
So let me pivot the conversation a little bit because I love the work that you're doing. It sounds like you're innovative. You come up with products, you generate profit, you put that into the schools. So if you were to think about problems with the organization, this wouldn't be a consulting show if I didn't help you with something. And
Right.
so it sounds like you've been doing a lot of things right. Is there something that's just been a bottleneck or something you've been struggling with that we can work through?
Well, I would say, the difficult part for our organization right now, and a challenge, I would say, or a gap that we experience is socializing some of the things that we're doing. We have, obviously we have media contacts and things like that, but I think that so when you have a product like Sauce for a Cause, it's like one thing when you could, you take it out to your 5,000 Facebook, friends and family, and they capitalize on it. But it's getting to that next level, that scalability, that happens, and it's not asking for a donation. It's like, here's a product, but when you buy this product, it has some ancillary benefit. Um, and so we have like five or six things on the table right now that we want to get out there, and I think it's a matter of our biggest issue is knowing who to partner with. Um, and I'll take that one step further. When you're in the nonprofit industry, you get a lot of requests for people to come alongside of your organization, and it's kind of like, maybe your business is the same way, but it's kind of like you have to kind of vet them two or three times to figure out what their motive is, because ultimately, if they're trying to generate uh, a revenue on their own behalf by coming alongside your nonprofit, it's not as sometimes it's not collaborative. It's like we're just doing business then at that point in time.
Well, I mean,
So
in,
we
in
have a
my
lot of people that
experience, I think the only reason to really partner with a nonprofit to benefit you is if you're sponsoring a big event or something, you're trying to get exposure to the other donors, the other eyeballs in the room. I see that happen a lot, and I think that's kind of a win-win in that you're helping put on big events or raise a lot of dollars, and
right.
you get in return exposure. But to me, it seems like the people you'd want to focus on are the people that care the most about solving this problem with you. Like
Yeah,
if if they truly care about helping, undernourished or people that are dealing with poverty and don't have the basic food that they need over the weekend, if they care about solving that problem because they can parlay a little bit of that generosity to make them look good to their
sure.
customers, like that's why a lot of times people are partnering. And so especially in this local like geography that you're in, have you done any sort of partnerships with restaurants or Restaurant Week or all that,
Yeah.
all these brands?
Sometimes, see one of the things that's interesting about that is that um, a lot of those organizations and businesses are looking for the biggest bang for the buck they can get, when it comes to who you're dealing with. So you know there's large nonprofits in this area that have people just that's their job to go out and make those relationships. And I think sometimes some of the businesses want to be partnered up with the larger nonprofits for the recognition portion, as opposed to a smaller grassroots organization like ours. We have in the past though, done some of that. My biggest challenge right now and gap right now is finding the organization that would help us create like just that super charged awareness factor, um, digitally, whether it's an online store. um, it's one thing to have an online store and have some things available and have some opportunity in there. It's another thing getting it out there into the marketplace, and having people become aware of it without spending you know extraordinary amounts of money to make that happen. And so we've partnered up with some different people that were, market in the marketing arena. And just, we haven't really gotten, that's where I would say that's where our biggest pain point is right now, is we really haven't gotten any traction in that area yet. So we
So
are,
like if you were to look at this year, where does most of the top line revenue come from that allows you to run this program?
I would say right now, 70% of what we get is from individuals. And, our philosophy is a little different. So we have people come out and volunteer first before we ever ask for any money. Come alongside, see what we do, get involved. We have a phenomenal, dynamic volunteer process and program that we do. And normally those people, and we still don't even go out there and do a hard ask for partnership financially. We like people to come out and see what we do, and see how we operate, how lean we operate. And then from there, normally they come alongside in some way, shape, or form. I would say the other probably 30% of what we bring in is in-kind gifts. So we have, some decent partnerships with people that want to give, whatever in-kind gift is going to impact us most, and that's usually food. But we're very particular to the food that we ask for. But
Well, I
that's
guess what
revenue.
I would say, what I would say is it sounds like you guys are entrepreneurial and have come up with a lot of ideas over the years, and then each idea has kind of run its course, and you go back to the individual donors, and then you try to spin up a new idea. Is that right?
To a degree, yeah. I think
Okay.
one of that's probably fairly accurate. Nothing yet has really turned into like a super revenue generator. They come in, they trickle in, um, you know, and I think that once we find out what that thing is, it's like your business. I mean, anybody's business. Once you find that one thing that's your wheelhouse,
Yeah.
and people understand it. We always leaned on, the fact that we're a data driven, metric driven organization. That so when we report back to people, we don't just want to tell them that the problem's getting worse. We want to tell them that the problem's getting better. We're
Yeah.
making advancements and things like that. So
So I guess the one thing I would say, which is applicable not only to people running nonprofits, but really to any business, is that simplicity scales. And if you are doing a bunch of different things and you're known for the hot sauces and you're known for the food truck and you're known for the restaurant and you're known for the individual donation asks, it gets harder and harder to talk about what your business actually does. Whereas if you say move forward with this child boxes, the healthy boxes for kids, and
mhm,
it's very simple: buy a box, feed a kid. It's like it's there's this one-to-one thing, just like Tom's Shoes has done for years and years and years. That's scalable. That's why Tom's scaled, is because they've got something that's so easy to tell your friends about. It's like, oh,
mhm,
you buy shoes here or sunglasses here, and they give shoes or glasses, prescription lenses, or
right.
eye surgery. It's like a very simple one-to-one concept. So what I would try to do is, whether it's the boxes or something maybe that relates more to the name of the organization. Kitchen on Wheels probably made sense as when it was the food truck, right?
Yeah,
Is that what it was? And so
yeah,
that makes a ton of sense. If you've got a food truck and the profits are benefiting the kids in these low income areas, that
right.
makes a ton of sense. But as it strays into other ideas, like why does Kitchen on Wheels sell hot sauce? Like that is not as intuitive.
Right.
But if you were like Weekend Sauce or something, and you do hot sauce and feed kids on the weekend, that's really easy to
Right.
talk about. So I think, it sounds like maybe you don't quite have the thing that is going to scale, but once you get the thing, I would just go deep on that and and stick with it, because that's what will generate the
So,
partnerships
so
and the
what do you think
market.
that looks like in terms of, so how do you socialize, like aside from, the common ones, from a socialization standpoint, and we've gotten, the impact award from, Greater Phoenix Chamber and
Hmm.
some other awards and things like that, that are out there. But the socialization process, is, that's where I think sometimes, you know where we there's a gap there. We have some marketing people on our board that, come on with some ideas along, but they never nothing ever really
Well, great
has
ideas
stuck.
don't take marketing people.
Yeah,
Great
thank you.
ideas spread without marketing people, and it's because it's simple and it works. I mean, I'll use Trainual as an example. When we first made the tool, we didn't do any marketing. We didn't have any, like, no paid ads, no anything. But I had a handful of my consulting clients that use the tool, and
Hmm.
when they use it and they told their friends about it, people were asking me to use it,
Right.
and it made a lot of sense. And so we only started doing the marketing and paid stuff to amplify the success that we already had, not to create success.
Hmm.
And so once you've got a base of successful customers, and you're showing that it's a repeatable thing, it works. Look, these businesses are doing this, they're growing, they're using it. Then you can take those case studies and those stories, and you can get a lot of press and put marketing spend behind that,
Yeah.
because it'll generate more of the right customers.
Hmm.
But you don't marketing shouldn't create your first customers.
Right.
Like this, some success creates customers. So, for you guys, if it's, mixing up the brand, or if it's mixing up the service you provide to align more with the current brand, I'd say, like, you get really clear on that thing, and
Hmm.
then you leverage your 5,000, Facebook fans, or
Right.
whatever it is, as the next iteration of the company. And
Hmm.
you make a big effort, and you say, all right, we've got, pull that data from your wife, say we're at whatever, 500,000 or 1 million of, this is where we are today, and here's some yardstick or flag post of where we want to be a
Hmm.
year from now or 2 years from now. So you set some really measurable objective that people can rally around, and then you say, we need your help to get here. And it's very clear, it's like from point A to point B. That's
Right.
tangible, I can feel that. And here's the one product or service that we're going to offer, and every one of these that we do helps us get one step closer to that very tangible goal.
Yeah.
Think about, like, how Kickstarter works, or Indiegogo. Like, the reason those are so successful is because they've got a, a little thermometer that you fill up from
Right.
zero to the goal. And so it's easy, and there's similar things with other donation platforms. It's like, when you've got something to shoot for, you're much more compelled to do it. So,
Yeah.
um, I think, what's the right idea? I don't know. We can brainstorm if you
Yeah.
want, if you've got a few of
Well,
them.
yeah. Well, the thing is, it's so it comes down to that recurring revenue. Even though, like you said in the very beginning of this, right? So we're a nonprofit, but recurring revenue is very important. But I think that, obviously, every nonprofit has their own, mentality or methodology that they utilize to keep funds flowing, right? Um, and again, in a situation where, you know economics can have an impact and things like that. That's why I kind of always look at the Goodwill model and say, okay, Goodwill is basically a thrift store. That's a nonprofit. You bring your clothes in there, donate them, they clean them, and sometimes they clean them and
Yeah.
sell them, right? and and that's their revenue model, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's
But to be
basically it.
clear, it doesn't have to be recurring revenue in the sense that it's subscription revenue. It just has to be sustainable revenue. You have to
Right.
have some kind of business, because a lot of nonprofits will have an annual event
Right.
generate 85% of their revenue through. It's not
Exactly.
like it's a subscription, and it's not like they even what people are going to donate at that event, but they work up towards this seed thing that they do, and then
Right.
they bring in this windfall of cash and they deploy it the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So it just has to be something, like in your example, you might be able to bring in your whole annual budget based on restaurant week in Arizona, 1 week a year, working with 50 different restaurants to
Hmm.
donate 5% of their sales of a certain menu item that highlights your brand, because one sale of that menu equals one free weekend meal for a kid in
Yeah.
need. You know,
Yeah.
like there's something you can package. It doesn't necessarily have to be a subscription service.
Right. And so a lot of times, what when we think about that particular, like, you have to be a little bit more cutting edge sometimes, because that idea is great. The restaurant week idea is a great idea. There's so much competition in that space. So a lot
Sure.
of times what we do is we kind of go to the outer edges and go, okay, where is there no competition for, you know, I mean, when you think about like those fundraisers where you go out and you spend $500 for a ticket, you get the dry chicken, and then they have the whatever you call it, the silent auction and all those different things. Those are, people put those kind of functions on for you. It's costly, but if you're a large enough organization, um, you're going to, like you said, you're going to bring in most of your revenue in that one evening. Um,
Yeah.
but I'm thinking about it right now with the situation right now, where you can't have more than 10 people in a room. There's a lot of those functions that got canceled. So like, that's where I would always say, wow,
But
you know
there's a
what?
lot of food delivery services right now that if together a weekend meal kit
Yeah,
for your family, like buy this kit of weekend stuff, and $5 of it or $10 of it is going towards buying you three meals that you can give
right.
to someone else.
Yeah,
That to them is an upsell. It's
yeah.
like an opportunity for them to generate more revenue. So
That's
um
actually, that's actually a good one. I like that one. Um, yeah, but that's the kind of thinking we look for when we gather our board together. It's like, okay, who's going to come up with, and like, but you said originally, having that one thing that that people look at you for and go, that's
yeah.
what they do, that's what they're good at. And
And
it's,
right now is a little different because
yeah,
right now the thing that works might not be the sustainable thing 6 months from now, but
right,
you can either use this time to get creative and act really fast, or you can just brainstorm for what you're going to launch in 6 months. But
right,
the other thing I think right now is, like, there's farmers markets everywhere. And they can't happen right now.
right.
So
Yep.
how are those people? It'd be easy to get a list of all the farmers market companies that are missing out on their sales. So how can you show their products off to your 5,000 Facebook fans and say,
Hmm.
if you buy one of these things, it also comes with a donation? Um, well, that could be something.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I think, for us, it's a matter of, um, having something where people can. I always thought that subscription type product or business would help a nonprofit dramatically, once people understood the cause, and it kind of, then it's like set it and forget it, and then they keep purchasing because it's quality product that they're getting, and they're helping someone else when they make that purchase. It's just a matter, like you gave the Tom Sue's example.
Yeah.
But that's not something you buy on a recurring basis, normally.
Yeah.
But when you can get that kind of revenue going, then all of a sudden, when you do those special functions, or dinner, or whatever the case may be, that's the windfall that you can
Yeah.
hopefully
I
use
think
to help
I mean I
others.
think the reason I like the Tom's example so much, and there's so many of these now. I actually worked with a company right around when Tom's Shoes was launching. I worked with this company called Juntos that made a shoe. It was very similar. They made a shoe that was a South American local type
Yeah,
design, that they tried to make it nice, and they sold it to more affluent people, like in a Nordstrom kind of vibe.
yeah,
And
sure,
you would donate a backpack of school supplies to a school, and it was right when Tom's was launching, so it was like neck and neck. And the
yeah,
reason that Tom's came out ahead is because of the simplicity of shoe to shoe. It wasn't
yeah,
shoe to a backpack of school supplies. It like
yeah.
made sense. And so for your example, I think the more you can align, we're giving weekend snacks to kids that need, with like, if you could sell a weekend snack kit to other people, and
Right,
then that pays for the weekend snacks for the people that need them, to me
right.
that's like a no-brainer. I've got two kids, they're 5 and 2 years old, and we're always just grabbing stuff from the pantry and going out for a bike ride or a hike or a picnic or whatever. Like, how can you monetize that? How can you put together something that
S-
makes me think, when I grab snacks for my kids, that not everyone has this luxury?
So do you pay attention to like, so you provide snacks for your children? Do you pay attention to what those snacks are? Are you specific about those snacks? I
Yeah.
hear you. Are you?
Well, my
Okay.
wife is, yeah. So
Okay.
I mean, she's very discerning, and we have a very healthy lifestyle, and so whatever. She's at Whole Foods or Trader Joe's, and there's the things that the kids like, but they're all very clean, and
Right.
but if it was something comparable, and we knew we were starting a good cause, then there's the cause, and then there's the brand. And so you
Hmm.
could tell me that your cause is great, and then if you want me to like buy your product and be a consistent supporter, I've got to really trust the brand. And that comes down to the logo, your website, the believability that as I'm buying these things,
Right.
I'm seeing the ticker on your website go up
Okay.
because this month you've delivered this many more packages to the kids in need. Like, that's
Right.
something you can really get behind, and that's something other people will tell people about. Like, imagine if I had a box, the weekend snacks that I take to when we can see people again, I take to the park, and the other parents are like, "Oh, where'd you get those? That's cool." And there's some virality there that
Right.
you're not spending marketing on.
So right now, so is that so? Just basically doing a informal survey, that would be something that you think you and your wife would purchase if there was a box of healthy, great organic snacks that you can't find normally on a shelf somewhere. They're you know we go out there and right now I have a list of like maybe 10 or 12 different companies that I'm getting samples from right now that are phenomenal snacks for kids. Um, that would be something that you think you and your family would maybe
Yes.
subscribe to.
Yes, that's got to be again, the product's got to be good because the kids have to love them, because if the kids won't eat the snacks, my wife stops buying them. So
Right.
the product's got to be really good, and the brand's got to be good, because you want it to be easily shareable. You want people to ask, what is that? And so the packaging has to be good and stuff. If they're in like plastic Ziploc bags and it looks really like home
Easy.
done,
Yeah.
then it feels more like a donation of something
Yeah.
that I do, but I'm not going to keep doing.
So you just admitted to me on this podcast that your children are going to be my test. I'm going to send you the
If they're
box.
good, if they, yes, yeah,
I'm going to
sure.
send you the
But
box,
I think
and I'm going
anyone
to
would
see. I
agree to
want your.
this.
Yeah, I would like to get you and your wife's and your children's feedback when I put this box together. I'm sending one to Chris Ronzio first to see. You're going to be my first test. You're going to be the first test subject, believe it or not,
Uh, all right,
for
let's
Child
do it.
Box. Yeah.
I think well, it can't be called child box. It's got to be something that's like it's obvious that it's not tell me the
Yeah.
story about the weekend thing. So I would work on the
All
the
right.
the brand, or
I'm going to call it.
like
I'm going to call it Snacky Will.
or that's fine. I don't think people will be able to spell it. We have that problem.
Snacky Will.
We had to buy like 10 different domains just because of all the ways people misspell Trainual. But like, if you were to explain to me again, start at the very beginning of our call, what's the core thing that Kitchen on the Street does? What is it that you deliver for the kids, for the
Turn
end user?
turn hunger into hope, one child at a time. That's the mission statement.
Well,
Um,
that's a good mission, but what's the thing that they go home with? You said it was weekend supplemental.
yeah,
What is it?
it's called a bag of hope. It's a weekend supplemental nutritional snack program basically. That's what the bag is. That's what we provide them. There's two main meals. There's a family meal, and then there's um, probably another half a dozen of different snacks that we provide them throughout for the weekend to get them through.
Yeah. Okay, so weekend supplemental nutrition, weekend snacks, weekend basics.
Well,
It's it's something, as long as it's something, whether it's snacks or other weekend
right.
thing
Uh-huh.
that families need, as long as I can make that association that I think on the weekends, I'm glad I'm supporting this company and this
Uh-huh.
brand, because I know it's making a difference. Like,
So
that's
so
that's the
you're
only
coming
association.
from where you're coming from is basically the name has to be able to tell kind of what's happening at that point in time. Is that
I
right?
think I think so. I'm just one opinion. So
Yeah.
ask a bunch of people. The reason that Tom's wasn't one-to-one shoes. I mean, one for one was their slogan. So it's like right there in the logo or under the logo and on the
Yeah.
website, but they're pumping it with marketing,
Right.
so they get by with Tom is the guy and this is his story. And they
Right.
created a brand around that. But if you don't have the dollars to, turn some name or word into this program, then I would say use the name, make it as easy as possible.
Uh-huh. Okay. I like that. We're gonna be working on that.
All right, cool.
The name.
Well, you're gonna have to report back, and I'll report back when I get the
What I'm
box.
gonna do
I'll
next.
do a live stream
Nice.
opening the box.
With your kids there, testing the
Sure,
stuff, either giving thumbs
but
up or
they might.
thumbs
I
down.
can't control what they'll say, so they
Yeah,
might.
I
It
like
might be
that.
bad press. I hope
That's
not,
funny.
but
That's funny you should say that because we're one of the only organizations that have a junior board. So we have elementary age school kids, high school, junior high, high school, and college kids that are on a board that we assembled called a junior board, and we use them for a lot of these out of the box ideas. So
that's a
we're gonna,
cool idea.
yeah, it is. It works out pretty
All
well. We
right,
come up with some good stuff.
so Vince, as we start to wrap up here, where can people learn more about this so that when the box is done, they can connect with you and get in line?
Well, our website is kitchenonthestreet.org. We'll put some information there as we get ready to launch this, um, and then they can learn about it there. And then if they keep tuning into the podcast, Organized Chaos podcast, they're going to hopefully see your children eating some of these snacks, giving their most honest opinions. See what happens there.
I hope they're
It could
good.
be a it could be a crash and burn project. Who knows?
We'll see.
Never know.
All right. All right, cool. So I guess just some final takeaways, final thoughts. So we talked at the beginning. I think everyone, got a good sense of that nonprofits need systems and processes. They need to operate like a business. And it seems like
Hmm.
you've been able to do that to sustain for this long, which is amazing. So kudos to you for the creativity and the innovation
Yeah.
to create those sort of products. We talked about how only simple scales. It's something I say a lot, but it's so important that,
Yeah.
if you don't have something sustainable that's easy to refer, that's easy for people to talk about, then it's going to be really hard to grow past your own network. And so I'm really excited about this program for you. And then, we talked a little bit about how right now is a little different. You might scramble to get some donations, but I would say the few action items I would take away from this: one, go get that number, because that's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Probably your most powerful asset is, if it's not the dollars we've contributed. I mean, for you, it's such a tangible thing, like the number of meals, so tangible.
Yeah.
So like, get that number. I would have that all over your website, on the front of the website. And then I would, I would change your website. I haven't been to it, so I'm not sure what it looks like now, but make it a lead collection. Like, you want to start with, what is your mission? We're at this number today. We're going to this number. We've got this product coming, kind of like a teaser in a Kickstarter or something. It's like, here's what's coming. The Chris Ronzio is going to try it first, and then
Yeah.
we're going to sell it, but
Yeah.
like, whatever it says, tell the story that 13 years you've been doing this, you've made this kind of impact, you're going to make this bigger of an impact, you're going to do it through
Right.
this product, get on the list. Because while you're figuring this out and testing the product, you don't want to stop collecting leads and growing your audience. And so that's a powerful
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah, I like that.
But this has been cool. This is such
Yeah.
a different conversation than a lot of the ones I've been having. So I really appreciate this.
Hey, listen, you're a mover and a shaker. We like being part of the Chris Ronzio program here.
Well,
This is good stuff. Really was impressed when I saw you pitch that night for the Phoenix Business Journal, and I knew that our paths would cross again just from that one evening.
oh, thank you.
Yeah,
I
you
appreciate
were.
that, Vince.
Yeah, you did a great job.
All right, cool. So for everyone listening, go check out Kitchen on the Street. Look into Vince and what they've been able to accomplish over the years, and stay tuned for a cool product from them. Vince, great to have you on. Thanks again.
Appreciate it, Chris. Take care.
All right, see ya.
Okay, gotcha.